This is the World Financial Report on radio with Harold Siegel. My name is Randy Marshall. Joining us on the telephone, our financial and diamond expert, Harold Siegel. We're taping the show on March 28th, 2013. Our time is 8:37 in the morning Mountain, 10:37 Eastern. Radio show runs News Talk 770 in Calgary, 630 CHED Edmonton, and News Talk 1010 in Toronto. We're on the radio. We're online. The shows are archived at Harold's two websites, rarecoloreddiamonds.com and HESradio.com. We have a free podcast you can be a part of. Go to iTunes. Have iTunes on your computer, obviously on your iPhone, iPod, iPad. Type in World Financial Report on radio. Listen to Harold's daily commentary there. You can also listen to it on the websites. But you can listen to our past archive shows anytime you want through iTunes. Our radio show is portable. To invest in precious metals, there's only one company Harold recommends you use, and that is Worldwide Precious Metals. Their website, www.pmc.com, telephone number 1-866-623-2002 for diamonds, rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Speak with Harold personally and privately about diamonds, 1-800-432-1022. And I should mention that coming up on April the 3rd, Wednesday at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, Harold is going to be having a seminar about rare-colored diamonds. Go to rarecoloreddiamonds.com right now and sign up for the free seminar on Wednesday. About a week ago, the U.S. government, they prevented a shutdown. The government was going to shut down on March 27th. They kicked the can down the road until September when their fiscal year is up. They still do not have a budget in the United States, but they have funded the government. Sequestration cuts still in place. $85 billion will cause some pain. In fact, you can't even take a tour of the White House, if you can believe that, because they've cut back. Donald Trump came forward and said, listen, I'll fund the White House visits. They still would not take his money. It's absolutely crazy. But there are cutbacks in the United States as a result of sequestration and the funding being cut up until September of this year. The bigger story from last week, Harold, Cyprus. They did come to a deal. If you have under $100,000, you get to keep all your money in the bank. If you have over $100,000, they're going to take 30 to 40%. Capital controls in place. As a result, you're not seeing any bank runs. But obviously, it's very serious. In fact, Stephen Lieb, money manager, said Cyprus is truly a disaster for the West. It basically says to every citizen of the West, if your country runs into trouble, the governments can do basically what they want. Come along and just take your money. That's basically what it says. What worries me is if you have an individual who retired with, let's say, 300,000, 400,000 euros in the bank, and they suddenly find that some of that money is gone, what are they going to do? Basically, it's been stolen by governments. Let's say that you're not retired and you run a small business and need to make a payroll. What happens in that situation? The funds are frozen and then part of it is stolen. This is outrageous. And Harold, this is why we're saying protect yourself, have hard assets in the environment that we live in today.
You are 100% right, Randy. What a frightening situation. First of all, the bank in Cyprus was closed. The banks were closed for 2 weeks. Could you imagine those poor people, what they were dealing with, trying to get their life back in order, trying to realize what are they going to do for money? And as you mentioned before, how do you run your business when you can't use the bank? So it's a devastating situation, obviously. And the fact is that it could spread throughout Europe. So if you have over $100,000 in those Cyprus banks, they're going to take 30 to 40% of your money. I don't know how in the world people are not rioting and throwing rocks through windows and panicking, but I guess they kept the banks closed for 2 weeks, so that diffused the situation. Then on top of that, another slap in the face is that all they'll allow them to do is take $300 out of their account. I mean, that's an absolutely unacceptable and unbelievable situation. Now the feeling is that this is going to spread into Europe. Italy, Spain, Portugal, Greece could adopt the same type of policy. And could you imagine what that's going to do to the banking system? Who in the world would even want to keep their money in the bank knowing that the banks can do this to you and the governments can do it to you. So, we sit back here in North America and say, we're fortunate that we're not in that situation, but we were almost in that situation in 2008. Let's go back to that time and see exactly what happened. First of all, you had the mortgage crisis, and then you had Lehman going under, a brokerage firm. Now, in and itself, Lehman going under was not a big deal, except that they started to get out of some derivative positions. And then all hell broke loose. The market started to plummet because most firms don't know how to deal with these type of derivatives, and all of a sudden the Dow dropped from 14,000 to 6,500. Don't forget, all the bank stocks plummeted. All the banks were basically bankrupt. Bank of America went from $65 down to $1 or lower, and Citibank, one of the biggest banks in all of in the United States, similar situation, dropped from $85 down to below $1. So the thing is that we almost had the identical situation that happened here in the United States in 2008. It was only because the FDIC, the insurance company that guarantees bank accounts, had the insight to raise insurance from 100,000 to 250. That stopped the destruction of the banks and the banking system, where people would have lined up and taken over $4 trillion out of the bank and hid it somewhere else. So that's how close we came in North America to a similar situation that's happening in Europe at this point. Those derivative positions are so scary and so volatile that a couple years ago, J.P. Morgan had a derivatives position that they tried to get out of, and they lost $6 billion just trying to get out of this position. Well, that could have been $600 billion, and J.P. Morgan would not have been here anymore. So this is how dangerous these markets are. Let me just say that if you have all your money sitting in stocks, mutual funds, paper assets, and cash, you're in big, big trouble. Because we could wake up and find the exact same situation that happened in Cyprus and soon to be Europe happening right here in North America. So the fact is that if we believe in insurance, and we certainly do because we all have insurance on our cars, our homes, our life, and everything, you've got to have insurance on your financials. Because if you're in your 50s, 60s, or 70s, and you lose all your money this time like we did in 2008 and back in 1999, the chances are you will never, ever get that money back again. So it's a time to be very, very conservative. It's a time to own your assets outright and make sure you're in the right markets. The fact is that what's happening in Europe and in Cyprus is going to spread to other areas in the world because it's just an act of desperate governments. And what government is more desperate than the U.S. government at this point? So we are moving into a long weekend this weekend. So Thursday is the last trading day. That's the day that we're taping our show today. And the fact is that there's not a lot of traders around. So the markets are going to be lightly traded today. The way that we see the gold market right now, gold's down $8.90, trading at $15.97, and silver's down 17 cents at $28.62. Looking at the charts on gold and silver, they don't look bad. The fact is that we should get another pullback in gold and silver, possibly over the next week, that could bring gold down to around the $15.50 level, which is only about a $40 drop from where it is now, and silver could possibly pull back another $1. But at that point, I'm starting to see that the charts are looking an awful lot better. In actual fact, the thing that looks best to me in the gold and silver charts at this point is the commitment of traders report, that the short traders, the people that are shorting gold and silver, forcing it down, these banks are starting to buy back their positions. So I think we'll see the last of the positions come out next week, and then I think that we're going to start to see gold and silver start to move higher. In fact, I'm shocked that gold and silver have not moved higher with all the situations going on with these banks in Cyprus, but I think it's extremely confusing, and right now it appears that the U.S. has got a mind of its own. All they're concerned about is that the stock market is going higher and higher and higher, but if you look at the price of stocks, most stocks are not doing well. It's only a handful of stocks that are doing well. So, again, I don't want anybody to get lulled into a false sense of security thinking that things are looking better, because in all reality, they're not. They're looking worse than what they were prior. So I think at this point here, we just need to be very, very cautious and extremely conservative and own the type of assets that are going to protect us against currency devaluation, eventual inflation, and the potential of the banks stealing our money. And the way that you do that is owning having physical gold, physical silver, and physical diamonds. And those are the areas that I believe will get us through these difficult times. We need to conserve and preserve our equity. It's very, very difficult to make money right now. In fact, if you look at, and the people that I feel the worst for are the elderly, people that are trying to get by, but they can't get by because there's no interest being paid by the banks. You put your money in the bank, you get 1 or 2%. That doesn't even cover inflation. And the fact is that it's almost forcing the elderly, the people that should not be in these very volatile and risky stock markets, it's almost forcing people back into that because people need to see a return on their money. Otherwise, they can't live. So the bottom line is that it's extremely dangerous. The derivatives market is in the quadrillions of dollars, and any given day, we can wake up and find out that somebody tried to get out of a derivatives position, and it was a disaster. So my strongest recommendations right now are being physical, hard assets, gold, silver, diamonds, and let's not lose sight of the fact that last night the U.S. actually flew one of their stealth bombers over North Korea and dropped a fake bomb because North Korea, is threatening to bomb the United States in the U.S. That's how crazy things are getting. You got geopolitical situations going on that are extreme. You got financial situations that are off the charts. And again, you need to own the type of assets that will protect your money, and that's physical gold, silver, and diamonds. And we'll talk about diamonds very soon.
RareColoredDiamonds.com is Harold's website. Telephone number 1-800-432-1022. When it comes to precious metals, www.pmc.com. There's only one company Harold recommends you use when it comes to investing in gold, silver, platinum, palladium, worldwide precious metals. Their telephone number, 1-866-623-2002. They have been around the entire time this bull run in precious metals has been on. They've been through all the ups and downs. They're the experts in this very specialized field. They're the ones Harold recommends you deal with. www.pmc.com, their website, telephone number 1-866-623-2002. You can get our free weekly newsletter from them. They'll send it out to you via email free of charge every week. And once you start up your own precious metals investment account, remember, this is a liquid asset you can buy and sell with a phone call. Securely stored, insured to the full value of your investment. You'll have 24/7 online access and the help of a full-time expert when it comes to investing in this hard asset, gold, silver, platinum, palladium. They're there to maximize the profit, minimize the risk. We can't urge you enough to let them earn your business, and on top of it, go to their website, take a look around, www.pmc.com, 1-866-623-2002. Before we talk a little bit more about Cyprus, Harold brought up the stock market, and this week in our newsletter we have a chart of the week. It's tough to be a stock investor. And there was a study recently conducted by Longboard Asset Management, and it took a look at, and this is a very interesting chart, 20-year annualized returns over the last 20 years, how oil has done, stocks, gold, bonds, international stocks, inflation, homes, and how the average investor has done. To give you an idea, 39% of stocks were unprofitable investments. 19% of stocks lost at least 75% of their value. 64% of stocks underperformed the index. And 25% of stocks were responsible for all the market gains. If you wonder about the stock market, read that article in our free weekly newsletter. Get it from Worldwide, www.pmc.com, or call them 1-866-623-2002. And here's something to think about in relation. Here in Canada, we have CDIC. In the United States, they have the FDIC. And I'm sure a lot of people think, well, if we had problems, we would get bailed out by the CDIC, or in the United States, the FDIC. And Peter Schiff brought up a very good point. Well, the FDIC currently has about $25 billion available to bail out failing banks in the event of isolated events. It insures more than $10 trillion in deposits. Clearly, it lacks the resources to cover major losses in a systemic failure. A failure of just one of the nation's 40 largest banks could swamp the resources of the FDIC. I believe that a significant spike in Treasury yields to, say, 6% would result in the failure of several major banks. Bank of America and Citibank, for example, each have over $1 trillion in deposits. Where would the FDIC get the money to make the depositors whole in such a situation? The government would be unlikely to pass a major tax increase to fund an FDIC bailout. More likely, the Fed would print the money. In that event, depositors may not lose their money, but their money will lose much of its purchasing power as a result of what's happening when they print the money. It's something to think about. That's why we're advocating hard assets: gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and we'll talk about diamonds a little later. Egon von Greyers out of Switzerland, advocating for hard assets for a long time, says, the most important point I want to make today is how absolutely critical it is for investors to preserve their wealth. The crisis in Cyprus is yet another sign of the massive destruction of wealth that we will see in the financial system in coming years. Investors must heed this warning and get their assets out of the banks now. The reality is the financial system could fail at any time, and this is why investors must act today. See what's happening in Cyprus. Banks are closed, and whether people have cash, stocks, or gold in the bank, they won't get it out of there. That's why back in 2002, we told our investors to put 50% of their assets into physical gold and silver and advised them to store it outside the banking system. The bottom line is that gold is guaranteed to reflect the massive money printing that we will continue to see worldwide. And Harold, we advocate as well hard assets in these crazy financial times.
Probably more important now, Randy, than any other time in history. And again, it's just frightening to think that it's possible that Cyprus is setting a precedent, and the fact is that the other governments will say, well, gee, if it was okay for it to happen there, it's okay for us to do the same thing. Again, it's just an absolutely terrifying situation. We all work so hard for our money, and, the fact is that most families cannot afford to miss a paycheck. So you can imagine that for 2 weeks, the banks were closed in Cyprus and nobody could get to their money, and then when they did open up, they only allow you to take out $300, and you're going to lose 30 to 40%. It's just an unbelievable situation. It's just sending ripples all through the financial system, and again, it just lets everybody know how helpless we can be in a situation like that. But the funny thing is that we don't have to let that happen to us. We're all in control of our own decisions and what we do with our own money. And the thing is that where the banks could possibly confiscate your cash, and the thing is that in most cases, and in Canada especially, they've made no indications whatsoever that they would confiscate gold or silver or anything along that lines. In the United States, they've done that in the past. And don't forget, in the U.S., the U.S. government has forced many of the bullion firms to turn over their client list so the U.S. government knows who owns gold. To me, that's a frightening situation. So the fact is that you want to own the type of assets like gold and silver and diamonds that the government does know you own. In a diamond, nobody knows you own it. So the thing is that these are times that are just out of control. And again, when it comes to somebody stealing your money, I don't know how people in Cyprus are dealing with it at this point, but I know that would not go over well here in the United States.
This is a liquid asset you can buy and sell with a phone call. When you make that investment, remember, it is liquid. Every portfolio should have an allocation of precious metals at all times, good or bad. When you're allocating the money you have today for investment purposes, you need to include hard assets: gold, silver, platinum, palladium. Speak with Worldwide Precious Metals. They will help you start your own precious metals investment account. They're there to help you maximize the profit, minimize the risk. They're the experts in a very specialized market. They're the ones to deal with. And please remember, the metal can be stored on your behalf, delivered to your door. You can take physical possession of your metal anytime you want. Worldwide will go over all the different ways there are to invest in this hard asset market. www.pmc.com, their website, telephone number 1-866-623-2002. It was interesting that Jim Sinclair said this week, the main takeaway from this, meaning Cyprus, this is a victory because Cyprus remains in the euro. The question is if you have any deposits in Europe or the United States. Are your deposits above 250 for the multiple banks you have it in? Is it in fact guaranteed? Many people have had great success in life in terms of accumulation of money, and it sits in banks and brokerage firms with comfort from FDIC guarantees, obviously in the United States, CDIC in Canada. However, if that brokerage firm or bank goes broke, what are the parameters that say the amounts above the guarantee will in fact be made whole? Up to now, everyone has been made whole. Up to now, every dollar in banks has been returned through QE, bailouts, and through TARP. So the most important thing to remember regarding what's taking place here is that the large bank deposits are in limbo as to whether or not, above the minimums, the money will be returned. In Cyprus, the answer is no. They're not going to be returned if you're over $100,000. Under $100,000, it will be returned. And Harold, I would say we have about 2 minutes left. Now's the time for everyone to analyze their money, where the money is, and take a look at hard assets as a way to have an insurance policy against a Cyprus-type event in North America or around the world.
You bet, Randy. Again, we just need to make sure that we cover all of our bases. We can't afford to lose our money. Again, if you're in your 50s, 60s, and 70s, we can't replace the money that we would lose. So again, this is a different time and a different space type of thing. So my strongest suggestion is be very, very conservative. Don't take unnecessary risks and own your assets. Again, stocks can be manipulated, bonds and anything paper, and cash. Who knows what they can do with our cash? Just make sure that you own the type of assets that are going to protect you, and assets that could be sold in another currency, like we're going to talk about in the second half of the show in diamonds.
WWPMC.com. Go to Worldwide Precious Metals website right now. Take a look around. Connect with them. WWPMC.com. Telephone number 1-866-623-2002. Call that number 1-866-623-2002 to learn more about investing in gold, silver, platinum, palladium. Start your own precious metals investment account today. And we should remind you that we have a free weekly newsletter. Worldwide Precious Metals will be happy to send that newsletter out to you free of charge via email every Friday. And you can be on the same page that Harold and I are when we do this radio show. You can see the articles. You can read further if you want. You can go through the newsletter in 5 to 10 minutes or spend hours if you want. But let Worldwide educate you as to why now, in the times that we live in, you need to have gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. WWPMC.com, the website, telephone number 1-866-623-2002. Don't forget, coming up on April the 3rd, at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain, Harold will be having a special seminar on rare colored diamonds, and we'll talk more about it as the World Financial Report on Radio with Harold Siegel and me, Randy Marshall, continues right after this. Welcome back to the World Financial Report on Radio with Harold Siegel. My name is Randy Marshall. Joining us on the telephone, our financial and diamond expert, Harold Siegel. We're taping the show on March 28th, 2013, at 9:02 in the morning. That's Mountain, 11:02 Eastern. Radio show runs News Talk 1010 in Toronto, News Talk 770 in Calgary, 630 CHED Edmonton. We're on your radio. We're online. The show's archived on Harold's websites, HESradio.com, rarecoloreddiamonds.com. We have the podcast as well through iTunes. Have it on your portable device, iTunes. You can listen to us anywhere you go. Just type in World Financial Report on Radio. Harold does daily commentary. You can listen to it on the websites, or you can listen to the commentary through iTunes. Our radio show and commentary go wherever you do. Harold recommends you use only one company. When you invest in hard assets like gold, silver, platinum, palladium, the company's name, Worldwide Precious Metals, WWPMC.com, their website, telephone number 1-866-623-2002. To connect with Harold about rare colored diamonds. His website, rarecoloreddiamonds.com. The telephone number to speak personally and privately with him, 1-800-432-1022, 1-800-432-1022, and whatever is said between you and Harold is 100% confidential. On April the 3rd, Wednesday, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain Time, Harold has a seminar all about rare colored diamonds. Go to the website right now, rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Sign up for the free seminar Wednesday night, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain. This is a seminar you do not want to miss. Harold will go through all the ins and outs of the rare colored diamond market. Get our newsletter from Harold, because we had an article last week. You might have missed it. It's called Pink Diamonds, Diamonds that are not forever. The reason they're not forever is the mine that mines 90 to 95% of the world's pink diamonds, Argyle Mine in Western Australia, is shutting down in about 5 to 7 years. Get that article, read it over. It will open up your eyes to what's happening in this market. And the featured diamond this week is a 0.49 carat radiant cut, fancy, vivid, purplish pink Argyle. Go to rarecoloreddiamonds.com, click on the featured diamond of the week. You can see video of the diamond there. You can also see a picture of it in the newsletter. There's a link to the website. Harold, it is a stunning purplish pink Argyle, and we believe Argyles in the future are going to be a massive winner when it comes to investment, the investment side of things.
You bet, Randy. And again, that vivid is the best that you can possibly get. You can't get any better than a vivid pink Argyle, and the prices are doubling almost every 2 years. We have clients that spend $50,000 on some Argyles 4 years ago, and some of them are worth upwards of $200,000. So clients are doing tremendously well, but by far the best is yet to come. And I've invested extremely heavily in Argyle diamonds just so our clients will have the opportunity to make this type of money. Now, again, the Argyle pinks are just phenomenal investments. And again, it's a supply and demand situation. The demand for these diamonds have never been higher, and the supplies are at the lowest levels they've ever been, which is certainly a recipe for much higher prices. Now, we have 160 new Argyles that we just received, just been cut, polished, and graded by GIA. We're videoing them all and putting them up on the website. But I have more Argyle pink diamonds than anybody does. We just spent $40 million with Argyle to make sure that we do have these for our clients. And the fact is that they're about the best investment that you can possibly make. They never, ever go down in value. They normally go up by about 20 to 25% a year. During times of high inflation, they react better than gold and silver because there's no volatility to them. And then they can be sold in other currencies. So these are just amazing, amazing assets, and the mine that produces 95% of them is going to close. So we carry fancy light pink Argyles that we just got. They start at about $15,000 to $20,000. We anticipate that our Argyle pink diamonds will increase 8 to 10 times what today's prices are when the mine closes and there's no more pink diamonds left. So even a $20,000 diamond could be a $200,000 return to you in the next 7 or 8 years. So we recommend these diamonds very heavily. Above the fancy light pinks are the fancy pinks, just slightly deeper in color. Then you've got the fancy intense pinks. Then you have the fancy deep pinks, which is very, very few of, and then the best of them all, which are the fancy vivids. And again, they're not inexpensive. They start at about $100,000 for the diamonds that we have and go up from there. And we actually have some of the largest vivids available anywhere in the world. We have some that are very close to a carat. And just so you know, last year at the Argyle Pink Diamond Tender, the biggest diamond to come out of the Argyle mine was a 1.32 carat fancy vivid purplish pink Argyle called the Argyle Siren, and it sold for right around $2 million. Well, I've got some Argyle pinks that are in the 0.96 and 0.97 range, and those diamonds are in the $500,000 range. So all in all, we have diamonds starting at $20,000, $15,000 to $20,000, and going up into the seven figures. And these type of diamonds, again, you'll make a fortune of money on. The other thing that's extremely important is what happened in Cyprus. When you have your money sitting in paper assets, when you have all your money sitting in the bank in cash and in stocks where the governments can steal that money from you, that can't happen with a diamond because nobody knows you own it. It's portable private wealth. There's no... they can track your stocks, they can track your gold, they can track almost anything, but they cannot track a diamond because there's no listing of it. That's why it's always been that type of asset, an asset that could be transported from country to country and sold in different currencies and things like that. The other thing is that the currency markets all over the place are volatile. What we did is we own H. Siegel Fine Auctions, the only auction firm and the only firm that created a secondary market to resell diamonds. But what we did is not only is the firm incorporated in North America, but also in Central America. We incorporated in Panama. We incorporated the company in Hong Kong, and then we also incorporated in London, England. So basically the reason for doing that is to give our clients an opportunity to sell their diamonds in different countries where the currencies are stronger. So the fact is that if we own, for example, a beautiful Argyle pink, and 10 years from now we want to hold an auction in England, in London, and pick up British pounds because they're worth 40% more than the U.S. dollar, then that's what we do for our clients. That's why we built the auction site in the first place, and that's why we incorporated in other areas where our clients can make not only a beautiful profit on their diamond, but also on the currency. So that's what we do in the diamond market. And as Randy mentioned, we have an online seminar coming up on Wednesday, April the 3rd. It's at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. It's free. We never charge for information. Our newsletters are free. Our radio shows are free. Our seminars are free. So basically, we do this to educate. And if you do attend the seminar, it's free of charge. It's going to take about an hour. We're going to cover everything for you: what diamonds are, where they come from, how they're cut, how to read a GIA report, what colors are more valuable than others, what cuts are more valuable than others, and we're also going to show extremely important reports, and we're going to show our collections. So the fact is that you want to attend this seminar, and you can do it in the comfort of your own home. Just go to our website, rarecoloreddiamonds.com, go to the investing in the seminar section, and sign up. It's free of charge, and then sit back on Wednesday evening and watch our seminar and see if this is the right type of investment for you. I can assure you that if you have all of your money sitting in paper assets, in cash, in stocks and mutual funds and that type of thing, you should be very, very nervous. What happened in Cyprus could happen in Europe and could happen here in North America, and we just don't want to see that happen to the listeners of our show. We work way too hard as Canadians to have some success, and as savers, we're being punished because you put your money in the bank and you're not going to make any return on it. So you put your money in the bank and you got 1 or 2% return, and then on top of that, if things happen like they did in Cyprus, the risk is you could lose 30 or 40% of your money. You put your money into a diamond, and obviously you don't put all of your money into one investment, but you take some money away from a risky area like stocks, mutual funds, and cash, and you put it into a diamond and put it away. This diamond could save your financial life because of what's happening in Europe happens here in North America. You've got an asset that could be sold in another currency, and you're way ahead of the game. The other diamonds that we recommend are yellow flawless diamonds. They have to be internally flawless. Anything that is flawed is not going to go up anywhere near as much as an internally flawless yellow. They start at 15 to 20,000 and go up from there. They increase by about 20 to 25% a year. They double every 4 to 5 years in value. And again, these diamonds have never, ever declined in value. There's maybe about 120 yellow flawless diamonds cut for the entire world in a year, and we have about 100 of those, and we make those available to our clients. Most of our clients that buy diamonds are very conservative, not into risk, and realizing that if you put your money away in an RSP for the last decade, you've made no money at all. How unbelievable is that you put your money away for retirement purposes and don't get anything back for it? Whereas if you take $20,000 and put it in the stock market, the chances are you're going to either make a little bit or lose a lot. You put $20,000 into an Argyle pink or a yellow flawless, and you know that in 10 years from now when you're ready to retire, you're going to have something substantial. Because number one, these diamonds never fall in price, and number two, they respond to inflation as well as gold does without any volatility, and they're portable private wealth. Somebody steals your money, again, you've got a diamond that could be sold in another currency, and that's not the case. Nobody's going to steal your diamond. The other diamonds that we recommend are colorless diamonds. They're called D-flawless whites. They're very, very rare. They represent 0.001% of the market. I've recommended these diamonds for several years now, and they are spectacular. They're used as currency in Europe, and because of this new fund, this diamond fund that was just started in Europe, the banks are insisting on these D-flawless whites because they have a track record. 20 to 25% a year and negative correlated to the stock market. When the stock markets fall, these diamonds go up the appropriate amount in value. So again, I just don't think you could do any better at this particular point than being in gold, silver, and diamonds. And again, gold has been in an 18-month funk. There's no doubt that gold has been trading lower to a sideways over the last 18 months, and that was actually done purposely by the exchanges where gold is traded on. But there is no way in the world that gold has lost its luster. The fact is that there are so many situations happening in the world right now that warrant being in hard assets. Again, we brought up what happened with North Korea last night. They're threatening the United States. They're threatening to drop bombs on the U.S. mainland and in Hawaii. So the fact is that you've got these geopolitical situations going on. You've got equally disturbing situations going on with Iran and in Syria and all those areas in the Middle East. And then on top of that, you got this banking crisis in Europe where people are losing 30 to 40% of their money. You know, it's confusing, it's dangerous, it's infuriating. I know the emotions that people must be going through in Europe. I don't know how they deal with somebody stealing your money like that, especially the government and the banks, but we can't let that happen to us. We've got to be smart. Take some of the money that you have at risk that's sitting in stocks and do yourself a very smart favor and buy yourself either an Argyle Pink, a Yellow Flawless, or a D Flawless Diamond.
Speak with Harold at rarecoloreddiamonds.com. rarecoloreddiamonds.com, telephone number 1-800-432-1022. Sign up for the free seminar Wednesday, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain Time. Go to rarecoloreddiamonds.com and sign up. All you need to do is click on the banner and speak with Harold about our featured diamond of the week, 0.49 carat, radiant cut, fancy, vivid, purplish pink Argyle. One of the reasons that we warn you on the stock market, and I touched on that story we had earlier, you can see it in our newsletter about the stock market, how it really is quite concerning right now. The reason we're warning you is we're very concerned about government stimulus, quantitative easing, propping up the stock market. When they take it away, all that money that was made could very well easily be lost again very quickly. And Michael Pinto brings up a very good point. What government has succeeded in doing is making the corporate and banking sectors appear to be solvent, while simultaneously bankrupting the Fed and Treasury. Since this is the case, investors should not take any solace in the price-to-earnings multiple that appears not to be too far stretched. If market forces were allowed to prevail and the government permitted the economy to deleverage, earnings of U.S. corporations would be in a depression, and the price-to-earnings ratio would reveal the stock prices are already in a bubble that is only becoming more dangerous with each day the Fed prints money. A very smart man, Lawrence Klotnikoff, he is a professor at Boston University, was interviewed by Greg Hunter. And he said, I moved my money out of the stock market in January. Economist Dr. Lawrence Klotnikoff said he was worried that the economy was reaching a real threatening point. The Cyprus banking crisis hit the globe last week. Now, when asked if he's still worried, he replied, this morning I moved my money out of the stock market because I'm worried about Cyprus. Dr. Klotnikoff explained his dire concern by saying, the rich people are already running on these banks. That's been going on for a year. The everyday working people could start visibly running on these banks, and that could spread like wildfire through Southern Europe and Northern Europe and into the United States because we have a banking system that's built to fail. It's going to happen, and he says it's going to happen in the form of a crash in the bond market. Interest rates are going to skyrocket, and we are probably going to have high inflation because the government is printing money out the wazoo. And Harold, if we get into that scenario, people will want to have a hard asset, gold, silver, platinum, palladium. They'll want to have a diamond. And that's why we're warning people about the stock market. This is nothing personal. It's not about optimism or pessimism. It's about realism in the time that we're in. We've seen this story with quantitative easing before. They did it, stock market went up. They did it again, stock market went up. Both times when they stopped, it pulled back. it will pull back again when they stop the quantitative easing. It's just a matter of time. Some people don't think the quantitative easing will ever stop, QE to infinity, because it can't stop. But that's why, Harold, we encourage people to take part in your seminar April the 3rd, Wednesday, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, and educate yourself about the rare diamond market and how that could fit into your portfolio today.
It's probably never been more important than it is right now. In fact, diamonds are in the news almost every single day, and there's a reason for it. Every market has its time, and again, with the fear of what's happening in Europe and with the banking system, it's never been more important to own an asset like this. You know, as I was saying before, it's very difficult to make money now without taking a huge risk. You can't put your money in the bank because you're only getting 1 or 2%. You put it in the stock market because you think you're losing something, and now we're at a bubble type of thing where the market is so high and out of all realms of reality type of thing. It is the worst thing that you could do to go into the stock market at this level. Just remember what happened in 1999 and 2008 and realize that stock markets are not a good investment when a country like the United States is on the verge of financial collapse. I mean, they owe almost $20 trillion. There's no chance in the world that they can pay back that debt. So again, we're only small people in the whole grand scheme of things. We're not the Warren Buffetts of the world type of thing, multi-billionaires. We're just hard-working Canadians that just try to do the right thing. You've got to be in the 10%. 90% of the money is made by 10% of the people. And the fact is that most people don't understand what's going on in the markets at this point, and you've got to take control of your money and buy the insurance that you need to protect yourself against, again, a heavily declining market.
Gerald Celente, who's an economist, said it best. People always say to me, Mr. Celente, you're always talking about gold. What are you going to do with gold when everything collapses and there's no money? Well, let's say you're a Cypriot and all of the ATM machines are out of money and the banks are closed. Do you think those pieces of silver are going to buy you what you need? Do you think that an ounce of gold is going to get you what you want? That's the real money. There is no other money. When it all comes down, gold and silver are the only things you have to buy what you need, get what you want, or even get out of if you need to. And Harold, we could add diamonds to that list as well. Connect with Harold at rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Take a look at the featured diamond of the week, a stunning Argyle pink diamond. Rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Telephone number 1-800-432-1022. On the precious metal side of things, Harold recommends worldwide precious metals. Let them educate you as to why you should have gold, silver, platinum, palladium in your portfolio. Their website, www.pmc.com. Telephone number 1-866-623-2002. And definitely be a part of the seminar on April the 3rd, Wednesday, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain Time. Harold is going to run through why you should have rare colored diamonds in your portfolio. It's an hour-long seminar. We encourage you to go to the website and sign up right now. Kevin Wides, and he was quoted this week in an article by King World News, Eric King. He says, investors need to be careful here of the Fed's supposedly good intentions. The desire of the Fed to create a controlled level of inflation is a dangerous game that may end in disaster that is much worse than Cyprus. If we see a major spike in money velocity because of the central planner's actions, investors must protect themselves with hard assets such as physical gold and silver in order to survive what could turn into an inflationary holocaust. I'm inclined to believe that the general purchase of hard assets and tradable goods will begin to pick up in Europe very soon as a result of the Cyprus debacle. This will accelerate the velocity of money and feed inflation. Ultimately, gold and silver prices should dramatically rally and go much, much higher. And I would imagine, Harold, that we'll see diamond prices as inflation starts to pick up increase as well, not just because of the rarity aspect with the pink Argyles, but because of inflation as well.
You bet. They've done it in the past. In 1979 and 80, when we had double-digit inflation, problems in the Middle East, extremely high oil prices, very similar conditions to right now, gold went all the way to 800, silver went to 50, and colored diamonds went up 500% in 2 years. they never, ever fell back because there's so few of these diamonds available. So, again, I just think it's one of the best investments you could possibly make. It's safe. It gives you all the advantages. And let's face it, you can't make money without taking risk nowadays, and the fact is that the diamond market is just a phenomenal market to be in for those that can afford it. Again, $20,000 or $15,000 is not in everybody's budget, but if you look at your overall financial situation, you look where you have your money invested, look where the major risk is, take some of that money that's at risk and put it into a safe asset like a rare colored diamond. These Argyle Pinks can return 1,000% over the next 10 years.
As we've said before on the show, you need to own things they can't print and obviously regulate. That is gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and diamonds. Get our free weekly newsletter. Educate yourself. Speak with Worldwide Precious Metals, 1-866-623-2002, website www.pmc.com or rarecoloreddiamonds.com, 1-800-432-1022. Get our free weekly newsletter from Herald or Worldwide, and you'll be on the same page that Harold and I are on when we do this radio show. More importantly, sign up for the free seminar, online seminar, April the 3rd, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, and take a look and sit back in the comfort of your home and make your own decision as to why you should own colored diamonds, rare colored diamonds. And Harold, you said that obviously we want people to go to the website right now, rarecoloreddiamonds.com, and click on the banner and sign up for the seminar. But you said this seminar is going to be about an hour long, and you're going to go through everything in this market.
You bet. It's a great seminar. It's a worldwide seminar. We have a lot of people signed up all over the world, looking very much forward to doing it. It's going to tell you everything about diamonds, where they come from, what they are, how you cut them, how to read a GI report, what color diamonds are worth more, what cuts are worth more than other. Again, it's the information you need to make an intelligent business decision. And again, it's going to take about an hour. You can watch it in the comfort of your own home on your computer, and I think you're going to love it. Again, we're also going to show some of our new vivid pink Argyles and some of our new collection, and it's going to be a great night for all. Again, if you're interested in learning how to make money in the diamond business, which is extremely important at this time, make sure you attend the seminar on April the 3rd at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And again, it's my pleasure to present this to you. I think you'll really enjoy it.
And we need to take care of ourselves. And the reason I say that is the politicians, they take care of themselves and their friends. In Cyprus, the president warned his friends to move money abroad before the financial crisis hit. In fact, he warned many of his friends that they were about to obviously go down the road that Cyprus eventually did, and that was confiscation of bank account money. And approximately 4.5 billion euros left the island in the week before the crisis. And that was a story from English newspapers, German newspapers, and Italian newspapers that said that the president warned his friends. Well, we don't have friends who are the president of Cyprus, but we do have Harold Siegel, we do have Worldwide Precious Metals, and we can invest our hard-earned money into hard assets like gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and rare-colored diamonds. And Harold, with about 30 seconds left, we hope the Easter Bunny makes it to everyone's home this long weekend.
You bet. I wish everybody a very, very wonderful Easter weekend. We all deserve a long weekend. For all of our Jewish friends, I hope you had a wonderful Passover, and we wish everybody a very profitable day.
April the 3rd, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain. Sign up for the free diamond seminar. Learn about rare colored diamonds, rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Speak with Harold about our featured diamond of the week, that pink Argyle, 1-800-432-1022. And with Worldwide Precious Metals, obviously, now's the time to start your precious metals investment account. www.pmc.com is their website. Their telephone number, 1-866-623-2002, 1-866-623-2002. That's it. Another edition of the World Financial Report on radio with Harold Siegel and me, Randy Marshall. We will talk to you next week.